Hi everybody, welcome to T351, the summer 2020 version of this course. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Calvin Peck. Technically I'm Professor Calvin Peck. That's what it says on the syllabus and it's on the bottom of the messages that I've been sending you. If we ever interact one-on-one, you're more than welcome to call me Calvin. I'm a PhD candidate in the music theory department at IU. And yeah, this is 351. I'm sure you're all aware that it is the 5th semester in the undergrad theory sequence. So the focus of the course is music composed after 1900. I'm sure that a lot of you have had some engagement with this style as a performer or reading about it. You probably have heard of a lot of the concepts such as atonality, 12-tone theory, and we're going to be talking about a lot of those ideas in a lot more detail. So we're going to focus on what it actually, for instance, what it actually means to be a work in an atonal style and what is atonality. We'll look at 12-tone techniques and what actually we mean when we talk about 12-tone music. We'll also talk about broader aesthetic movements as well. For instance, what it means to be a modernist work, a postmodernist work. We'll touch upon smaller aesthetic movements as well. For instance, what is minimalism in music? So what is a minimalist work? What's another one? Spectralism and what a spectral work is. That happens in the later 20th century as well. And all sorts of different topics, right? This is a course that I've taught a couple of times through the course of my doctorate, and I've done a lot of individual research with the repertoire. A lot of the repertoire that we'll be talking about, it's a repertoire that I have a profound respect for, and I'm hoping to share all of my enthusiasm about it with you through the course of the 8 weeks that we have together. So you're going to see that in the majority of this video, I'm going to be wearing a different shirt, and the lighting's probably going to be a little brighter, and I'm probably going to seem a little more happier, a little more optimistic. It's because the majority of this video was recorded about a week ago, a week and a half ago, and a lot has happened in the world since the time that was recorded, and I thought it necessary to just rewrite the first couple minutes of this video just to mention a couple of things. I certainly do not want to act as if I am some sort of figurehead of moral superiority in the world. God knows that I'm not equipped to do that really at all, but it's probably still worthwhile just to highlight this one little aspect hidden in the bottom of the syllabus about the classroom environment, something that, you know, is relevant because on Wednesdays we'll all be working in a Zoom setting and we'll all be writing to each other. Well, at least I will be writing to you and we'll probably have some interactions at some level. You know, not a really complicated 3 sentences here. If I had, you know, right here, if I had to sum it right here. If I had to sum it up, I would probably use, you know, Bill and Ted's mantra from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And, well, I think it is be excellent to each other, you know. Just be excellent to each other. This is a stressful time for everyone, or I would imagine it is stressful at some level for everybody. And this course is not going to be the easiest. It is not the easiest to put together. Certainly it's a difficult course to teach. And it is probably going to be, you know, challenging at points through the course of the semester for you as well. That said, I just want to make clear, especially in light of just everything that's happening in 2020, I want to make clear that it is not my intention in any way to overburden you with the amount of work that you'll be having. This course is just a lot of work, and it's just the way it is. The 5th semester of the undergrad sequence, there's a lot of topics to be covered, and you know, there's just a lot to do. But I'm doing what I can to make the workload as manageable as it can be, especially in an online setting, especially in light of this historical moment. As I mentioned, we're all stressed at some level. Sure, many of us are overworked already. I feel that way, having to not just make these lectures, but now record them and edit them. I don't want to mention how many times I've even just recorded this couple minutes here. It's pretty embarrassing. You know, we're all overworked, we're all stressed. We're probably all concerned about the future, both at an individual level in terms of our careers and what's going to happen once we finish our degrees, but also, you know, at a broader level in terms of the social situation of the country, the socioeconomic situation of the country, political situation. And, you know, even though this course is going to be work, I really do hope that at some level that it functions as an educational respite as well. You know, it's a course about music, something that we obviously all care about at some level. Otherwise, we wouldn't have slogged through as many semesters of music theory as we have. And a lot of the music that we're talking about this semester, you know, it might not sound like the most consonant in terms of consonant. Like there's a lot of dissonance built into it, but a lot of this music is just really, really cool and really, really interesting. And I really hope that at some level it can just function as a couple of hours of your day where you get to not think too much about the events and the things happening around us and just get to, you know, enjoy some really awesome art. So keep that in mind keep that in the back of your mind, not just through the course of this video, but also through the course of the semester, is that even though this course is work, I really, really do hope that it is at some level just a worthwhile and, you know, not soothing, soothing would probably be a rough word, a rough description, but, you know, a worthwhile endeavor and meaningful endeavor. I think that's a good way to put it. I'm hoping that this semester can be a meaningful respite from everything that's happening in the world. So yeah, keep that in mind and pay attention to everything that I discuss in the rest of this video involving the course structure and kind of the expectations and things of that nature. But you know, yeah, main thing for the first part of this, part one of this video, want to make this a good course for you guys, right? Yeah, we're all in this together at some level. So yeah, all right. Enjoy the rest of this video. The first thing that I wanted to do in this video was just briefly explain kind of some of the hiccups that happened involving having you guys register for this course. I know that most of you have registered for one version of it, and then there was a course structure change where it became from entirely online to a hybrid online. And I think you guys deserved an explanation for all those weird hoops that you had to go through. Essentially, in mid-March, I came down with COVID, and I came down with COVID in Paris, France, because I've been doing my dissertation research in France for about 1.5 years, because there's a lot of manuscripts that I need to look at for my dissertation. And yeah, around the time that the shutdown was happening in France, I had contracted it. So I was in quarantine. I am feeling fine now, and I was not super, super sick at that time. There was like 2 days when things weren't really super fun, but nothing to the level where I needed to go to the hospital or anything. The recovery time for that, for me, the recovery time of COVID took a very, very long time. It took about over a month. And right in the thick of that recovery time, in which I had a lot of fatigue, I had a very strange head feeling that wouldn't go away for like a long, long time. So in the middle of that, IU messaged me and told me I had about 5 days to tell them what course I wanted, and if I wanted course meeting times, to give them the exact days that I wanted for each meeting time. And I had never run this course before, certainly had never run this course online before, didn't really know what I was doing. I was also recovering from COVID, and there was just a lot of miscommunication that happened between me and the administrators of the Jacob School in particular. And I tried to message them
a week after they gave me the 5 days, and I gave them the info, and I tried to fix it up as quickly as I could, but there were numerous bureaucratic loops that I've been forced to jump through in order to teach this course from Paris. In fact, like I'm still in. The quirk of this whole 8-week semester is that I'm still in Paris, and I'm going to be running this course abroad because it's been, well, there's a lot of reasons why I'm here. We'll put it that way. But in any case, I just wanted to firstly kind of apologize for any stress that might have caused for any of you, and also thank you, because I did not receive very many emails at all that conveyed a level of like panic or stress from anybody enrolled in the course. So really, really grateful that you guys kind of oh, what's the phrase? I don't know, it's something involving fists or something, like rolled with the punches. I'm really thankful that you all rolled with the punches as they came. The most antagonism I received by far was from the administration. I received nothing of the sort from you guys, and I just wanted to thank you, because it's been really stressful for me as well to try to just even make this class start. So yes, thank you for being patient. And as this is an introductory video, I don't want this to be too long. The point of it is merely to highlight some of the most important points in the syllabus, and because this course is going to be different than the normal T351. Not just in the sense that there's going to be video lectures, there will be Zoom meetings, but also in the way in which you're going to be evaluated. It's going to be somewhat different than what has existed in the past, and that would exist in a live version of the course. And this video is meant to function as a way to explain kind of the rationale behind some of the decisions that I've made involving the course structure as well. Normally, I wouldn't talk about the syllabus at all in any great length, maybe like 5-10 minutes at most. But because everything is so strange, I felt it was reasonable to kind of go through this with you in some detail. So do take some time, bear with me through this video. It's my very first course lecture video, so I'm going to be speaking in a somewhat clunky way. I apologize for that. I imagine it will get better as the semester goes along. And yeah, just work with me here, okay? Please? Okay. So, all right, woo! Here is the page of the course syllabus. You should have access to this page already if you are registered for the course. If you are registered for the course, you have access to the Canvas site for this course. And from there, you can click on the syllabus tab, which is on the left, right over here. Hopefully this is recording as the way I want it to. We'll find out very soon. From here, yeah, here you click on that and the syllabus comes up. And before I go into any detail on the things in the syllabus, I just wanted to say right away that in the future, if you have any questions regarding administrative dates involving, like, for instance, when is the final exam, when is the date that you would need in order to automatically drop the course, W, things like that, any administrative questions are almost certainly on this course syllabus. If for some reason you cannot find them after looking, or finding the answer to your question after looking at the syllabus, then please feel welcome to message me or the AIs for this course, and we'll be happy to answer the question that you have to the best of our ability. Please look at the syllabus first before you decide that anything else will help, okay? I mentioned that we have 2 AIs. In fact, I mentioned that we have AIs. We have 2 AIs, a rarity for this course. Normally there is 1, but due to the weird nature of this being an online course, I requested 2 in order to help with certain aspects of it, and I was given 2, which is great for everybody. The 2 instructors, hopefully I'll get their pictures. I'll pop them up somewhere on the screen here. I have Emily Barbosa and Jonathan Spandor. You can meet with us by appointment, by messaging us. You'll be assigned instructors that you can message by me. I'll let you know who those are. I'll let everybody know who those are very soon. And yeah, you'll notice that here I have in bold hybrid course meetings that take place Wednesdays at 1 to 2:15 p.m. You probably saw this through the confusion that took place when you had to re-register for the course. In fact, these are Zoom online meeting, not really lectures, but you should think of them more as drill sessions in the sense that you had theory drills 2 days a week in 251, 252, or the honors versions of those. So this course will be divided into 4 days where you'll get a new video lecture each day around this Wednesday class. And then in these Wednesday lectures, the idea behind them is that you'll be working in small divided groups among you, and both Emily, Jonathan, and myself will each lead one of these groups, and we'll essentially just go through talking about a specific piece and analyzing it together. We'll highlight important concepts, but the main idea of it is to work together in what is hopefully a very relaxed environment, a relaxed digital environment, going through analyzing a piece together slowly in theory, and just getting comfortable working through post-tonal analysis, which is notably different in a lot of ways than what you have done in previous 4 semesters by the nature of what kind of music it is and the kind of structures that we need to articulate through new kinds of theories. So it'll be different, but the nature of it should hopefully be very comfortable. It should be very inviting, not so much pressure involved with it, hopefully. With that in mind, I should briefly talk about the technology requirements. Obviously, this is an online course, so you need to essentially you need to have the things that you would, that would allow you to participate in a Zoom lecture, right? So you have a microphone, webcam, you gotta have Zoom, you gotta have a computer. If you don't have these things, you can't really do this class. So, but if you're watching this video right now, you likely have most of them. But yeah, you want to make sure that you have access to all these basic things. I should mention briefly the supplementary software that you need. I say here that it is strongly recommended that you have Adobe Acrobat DC. I say this because it's a good program for notating, marking up scores that are in a PDF file format. And I will show you how I go about that through the first few video lectures. I'll show you just exactly what I expect. It's nothing terribly complicated. It's essentially there's a tab that you hit comments, and then from there you just kind of make squares and circles, and then you can also add a little bit of text. Nothing crazy. You don't need to use this program to annotate scores as well. You could even use Microsoft Paint if you felt more comfortable with that. Main idea is that things would be legible when you mark them for yourself, and especially in the future, if there are PDF files that we ask you to mark up for assignments, we would want you to make those legible for us. And I will emphasize that very, very soon. Okay. I do also mention that I give you ways to use Sibelius, or I give you suggestions for using the Sibelius music notation software. It is not required. If you feel comfortable using Sibelius, it's a good tool for things like composition assignments and such. But I'll talk to you about the expectations for those very, very soon as well. I'm going to scroll down here now, and where do I want to go to? I want to go to required text. I want to mention this. I sent one course announcement out already. By the time the course officially begins, which is June 8th, I will probably have sent a number of messages individually to you, telling you that you need to have this textbook bought. The physical copy of it needs to be purchased. It really isn't that expensive. I think it's a little more than $40. It is an indispensable tool for this course because it's really, really difficult to get copyright permissions for modern works. That's essentially, and this is a course built on modern music. And I'm in Paris, and I don't really have access to get scores that are lots of unavailable scores to you. If, that's kind of a restriction of this whole situation, is that even if I wanted to work with a lot of very out of left field composers, unfortunately, I just don't really have the opportunity to do this course with the amount of freedom that I would normally be able to. So I do have a number of scores that, through precedent in previous courses, I will be uploading through Canvas, and it'll be accessible to you on each unit page. And you'll see there will be a listing that says Unit 1 works not available in Roy-Francoli or works in PDF form. You can download those. That said, this course, or this text, the Roy-Francoli, contains the vast majority of works that we will be looking at, especially later on in units 2 through 4. Works that are not in copyright. I'm really not trying to make you write harder by buying these. It's just the most effective tool for making this course feasible at this moment. Let's briefly talk about the necessity of the Zoom format. The Zoom meetings are going to be your participation grade. I'll mention the grade distribution very shortly below, or in very, very shortly after this little spiel. The pieces that we talk about in these Zoom meetings that we analyze together, some of them will be on the exams, on quizzes. So you will want to be there. You'll want to know what we talk about in those, because the topics that we talk about will be the things that are brought up in the quizzes and exams, okay? And with that in mind, just going through these analyses together, it really ought to be, hopefully it will be good practice for everybody as well. Going through post-note, as I mentioned before, post-note analysis, it's a little different than tonal analysis, and making sure that you have a good understanding of the concepts and tools and topics that are mentioned in lectures. You'll be able to verify that your comprehension is sound through these Zoom meetings by being able to talk with me or the AIs about any questions you might have involving them. So, and on top of that, hopefully it's just a nice change of pace from just having to watch me kind of drone on and pause and then say a lot in the middle of these video lectures. Being able to interact, I know for me in this time, being able to interact with human beings has been kind of refreshing. So I'm hoping that the Zoom meetings kind of just gives you another avenue for socializing with people in a nice way, and hopefully in a fulfilling intellectual way as well. Next, I'm going to jump to the 3 different types of works. So there's going to be works for detailed study. There will be short little excerpts of works that we'll go through in some analytical detail that you'll need to be familiar with for exams and such. There will also be listening only works. I wanted to mention that I have cut the amount of listening works for this course significantly. That was already going to be the case before the pandemic arrived. To memorize in a normal 4-month version of this course, to give you an example, the way some professors have ran it, there would be 11, in some weeks there would be 11 pieces that you would have to be familiar with for an exam. You're given 11 pieces in the span of like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday lectures that you would have. To memorize that amount of pieces in 8 weeks seemed unfeasible to me. So I was already planning on cutting the amount of repertoire that was going to be needed in terms of listening only, compounded with the fact that we are now in the middle of a pandemic and this is an online course. I have cut the number of listening works even more. I believe on the Unit 1, there should be around 3 or 4. I have to double check. But yeah, there won't be more. It'll be rare if there's more than 3 or 4 listening only works that you'll need to remember for the class. Listening only works could be on the quizzes and exams though, so do make sure that you're familiar with them. So even though the difficulty of the listening only works is going to be reduced greatly, I've tried to compensate for that by increasing the amount of work and difficulty of the assignments. And before I get into the grade distribution for the course, I'm actually going to stop this. And I just wanted to kind of briefly explain the rationale behind that pedagogical decision. Because if you think about the way the grading in a normal class of this nature would be organized, you would have, sometimes the assignments are weighted a lot less in the traditional theory course format, and then the exams are weighted a lot heavier. And that's because the nature of an assignment is it's not really meant to put an excess of stress onto you. It's meant as a kind of check to make sure that you're on top of all the concepts and terms that you are being taught in the lectures, and that it's a means of practice and a means of becoming more familiar with those topics. For example, when you learned about diminished seventh chords, you probably had an assignment where you needed to write diminished seventh chords and label diminished seventh chords, right? That was meant for you to become more familiar with that topic. And then the quizzes and exams were meant as verifications that you really, really understood those concepts and terms in a controlled environment in which you would not have access to your notes and textbooks and things of that nature that you could just double check and copy off of, right? In an online format, that type of control isn't available to me or the AIs, the people administering the course, right? We can't come to your house. Thankfully, we cannot come to your house, look over your shoulder, and make sure that you are not using your notes and textbooks in order to complete quizzes and assignments. So knowing that, I'm doing my best to try to design the course in a way in which the assessments aren't a means of verifying that you understand a concept, they're a means of building upon the concepts that are taught. So it's actually going to be, in a certain way, probably a little bit more work, because I'm going to assume that you understand a concept like, oh, you'll learn about what a set class is, and then from a set class, you will have to apply that to an analysis of a piece of music and say something very, very critical and interesting about that piece of music in the various assignments and exams that you'll get. Okay, so now that I've given my little spiel on why I'm weighting some things like the listening portions a little less and things like the assignments a little more, why I'm making those harder, let's actually discuss the grading scheme in detail, since that is something that I'm sure everybody is invested in. So there is the grading distribution on the screen, on the syllabus. There are 2 exams, a midterm and a final. Though there's 4 units, 2 exams. There are going to be 5 quizzes at 200 points. The quizzes are going to be about things related to topics that we cover in lectures. Most of them will involve things that are emphasized in certain analyses of pieces, certain concepts that are emphasized during the video lectures. So if you pay attention to the video lectures, take notes, you're going to be fine. And then there's 100 points for the Zoom class participation. So if you show up to the Zoom classes, you're going to get 300 points, right? It's going to be super, super easy. And what I didn't mention is that there's going to be 8 assignments at 300 points. And the most of these assignments are going to be short essays. And that's going to be a little different than what you're probably used to in theory classes, because I think most assignments involve, I don't mind highlighting that. Most of assignments, probably up to this point, have been kind of like worksheet examples where you're labeling chords and maybe like talking about a form, maybe at most in a short answer format, but mostly you're marking up scores or labeling 5 words and things like that. This is not that. To get a sense of what I'm expecting, I've created a guideline sheet for how to make a theory short essay analysis. So if you go to the homepage of the course, you scroll down, you go to my star. I hope you like my stars. I spent a little time doing them myself with a little bit of wine. I enjoyed that that one night. And I was isolated in quarantine. In any case, there's the star supplementary items and topics. Click on that. You will then see the homework short essay guidelines and examples. It'll look a little funky if you go to the preview format because you can see the font's a little funky and there's this block of blank text. So you don't want to do that. You're actually going to want to download it and upload it through Microsoft Word. It will look, it'll look something like this, right? It'll look like, well, here is the document. It's like guidelines for short essay assignments. And you're going to want to read through this in a bit of detail. It tells you exactly what the expectations are when you do short essays. I'm just going to briefly explain how these assignments are constructed. So you're going to have a series of questions, more than 2, but here are 2. Some of them will involve you looking at very specific measures. So for instance, I talk about the piece that's being analyzed. It's a work by some random French composer related to my dissertation. It's actually kind of a cool piece. You should listen to it when you're looking at this document. But yeah, so there are 2 measures in this piece that the essay that I would ask you to respond to. And then there's the first question though, it's more about the form of fugues and through composed pieces and binary forms more broadly speaking. And I can see in question 2, it says like, how are the cadences in measure 39 and 55 emphasized? Cadences, I hope you are aware, are the kind of foundational points in which we divide forms, like the internal parts of forms, right? So binary form has a cadence on 5 right before the B section, right? You hopefully remember things like this, hopefully a little bit, right? So all of these questions are interrelated, and the idea is that you would look at these very, very specific points and relate them to the broader questions that are put onto your assignments. And to read what an example essay would look like, I've given kind of an excerpt of one that I created. And you can see that there are these little red markers in the essay proper. And those are actually comments that I've set up. And let me see if I can go to the reviewing pane here. You can see that what I've done is that I've highlighted a certain moment, and then I hit comment, and then I actually marked in the essay proper when I have responded to one of the questions that are in the assignment prompt. So easiest way to describe this, question asks you to talk about measure 39. It's mentioned measure 38, 39 here. So you can see that I wrote question 2 to show the grader that I am aware that this is in response to question 2. Same thing with measure 55 here. So it might seem a little redundant. It is a little redundant to do this because the question says respond to these measures. You say you're talking about those measures in the essay. It's not so redundant when you're talking about these broader questions. So when we're asking you to talk about weird issues relating to the form of this piece, and this piece does have kind of an interesting form. We want to see that you are aware that you're responding to this broader question. So I've mentioned that I talk about a rounded binary form. The essay talks about a rounded binary form at this moment, and you can see the context of the sentence. It's responding to questions about what the actual form of this part of this minuet actually is. So everything is kind of interrelated, and we expect you to label, ideally through this comment format, when you are actually responding to the questions. This is an expectation for the assignments. You have to do this. If you do not do this, you will be marked. You will be, I don't want to say like points taken off. That's not exactly how this will work, and I'll get to that soon. But you will be looked upon. The assignments will not be looked upon highly if you do not mark when you're responding to the questions. And there is a chance that your grade will be lowered as a result of that. So in addition to marking up your actual essays and notating when you're responding to the questions, you're also going to need to you're going to need to the scores that accompany them, because you're going to be talking about pieces, and pieces have scores. So I've also provided an example score. Don't worry about the fact that it's a manuscript and that there aren't, I gave some measure numbers here. It's like, yeah, it's a little hard to read. Don't worry about it. The important thing is that you see the way in which I've like marked the actual passages that are discussed in the actual essay. So again, as I try to suggest, whoa, what just happened? Why is it so zoomy? No, go, wow, 64,000%. Thank you, Adobe Acrobat. Let's go to 75 maybe? No, let's go to 50%. We're leaving that in, because that was super weird. Okay, you can see that, let's get rid of that. You can see that there's nothing terribly complicated in the way that I marked this up. I marked question 2, and in the essay, I talk about how there's an imperfect authentic cadence. So, oh my goodness. Okay, so I wrote IAC, G minor, imperfect authentic cadence, G minor, and then I just put a little box around that moment that I'm talking about. So, or that is talked about in the essay. So nothing out of left field. You can see the same kind of thing that is happening here. I say it's question 1 in the essay. There's a moment when there's a part that question 1 is mentioned in that comment part. So the essay directly notes that it's responding to question 1. And then you can see here it says that this also says that it's in reference to question 1, and it mentions that there's a classical texture at the cadence, and that's discussed in the essay. So it just makes it easier for us as graders to see when you're talking about a certain moment in the essay and how that essay responds to the actual point in the score that you're talking about, right? And it just makes it easier to like look at the essay, look at the score, and go, okay, that's where that is, and right. So hopefully that makes some sense to you. It's meant for ease of grading, which is really important for you as well, so that the things that you want to articulate in your essay comes across as clear. So yeah, this is an expectation. Now, I've done this through Adobe Acrobat. It's pretty easy to do, and I might have said this already, but I will show you how to mark it up in the first 2 or 3, or how to mark up a score, the first 2 or so videos, the first two or so video lectures that I create. It's not terribly difficult. If you're not comfortable doing this, you are welcome to print off scores, and you're welcome to handwrite your markings if you have the ability to scan them or create some sort of image file and make that clear. The main, you can even mark them up with like Microsoft Paint, as I've mentioned before. The thing that I'm going to emphasize at this point, and I said it before, you need to send in some sort of legible copy, something that shows that you're clearly marking the scoring, that like there's no ambiguity in what you're talking about when you've marked something up. And if you do handwrite something and we don't understand it, we do reserve the right to give you a 0 on your assignment if it looks like if it just makes no sense at all. Now, that's not a power that we're going to use lightly. more often than not, we're just going to ask you to send in another copy of it within within the same day or within 24 hours. If it looks like there was just some sort of like error with the image or something, we're going to be flexible with that. It's an online course. Weird technological issues happen all the time. But the main point is that the things that you send in need to be clear. And if your assignments look like if they just don't come across as clear, we do reserve the right to deduct points as we see fit. And that is articulated in syllabus. So in registering for the course, you need to be aware of that, okay? When you do assignments, I mean, it sounds scary, isn't that scary? When you do assignments, and you mark up a score, do so clearly. It's harder to do in an online format. Here we are, okay? Same thing, there was another thing that I want to mention. Just hang on a sec, gotta look at my phone. Let's see. Yeah, so the legibility of these assignments is going to be important with the two-ish composition style assignments that I'm going to be assigning as well. There's going to be, if you have the ability to complete these assignments through Sibelius or through a program like Adobe Illustrator or, as I said before, Microsoft Paint, please go ahead and do that. You are welcome to print them off, complete them by hand. Honestly, that's probably how I would go about it. The important point is that we need to be able to read what you're writing. And again, we can't do that. There could be consequences. Just do your best and we'll try to work with you as is reasonable, right? It is ultimately your responsibility to figure out how best to go about completing those assignments and give you plenty of forewarning on when those are going to be due. And yeah, it won't, I'm making this sound scary. It's not going to be that scary, but just be aware, like, this course is impossible to do without some assignments that involve actually creating music or writing in notes at certain points. There's a point in the course in which it's impossible to not do things like that. So yeah. I'm gonna go quickly back to the syllabus. So just give me a moment here. Let's go to syllabus. Down in the syllabus, I mentioned a weird grading method that we're going to use. Again, this is an online course. The fact that I've constructed a lot of these, or that the fact that these assignments are often going to be essays. Essays are difficult to grade. I'm not a big fan of grading essays in a very, very detailed way. So like, it's very hard to distinguish when something is like a B- versus a B, for instance, right? When you're grading an essay without super, super clear guidelines. And there's a lot of people in this course, a lot of things to grade. And so in order to deal with that appropriately, I've created a grading scheme that I think is going to be better for everybody. Basically, you can get 3 grades, technically 4. So you can see it right here. You're going to get so you're going to submit your essays and you'll either get a full score of 100%, probably what most people will get most of the time when you turning your assignments. If there are problems, you're going to get, if there are problems with how you've written or responded to questions, you'll get a 75%, equivalent of a C. If things are really, really, really bad, you'll get an F. And then the 4th grade is that if you don't turn it in, you'll get a 0. But yeah, that's hopefully stuff like smart recording. And there's a fly freaking me out. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, technically 4 grades, but yeah, things are really, really bad. I'm gonna get a 50%. Maybe that sounds scary. I hope it isn't. To compensate for the weirdness of this grading scheme, you will have the opportunity to return in your essays. You'll have 48 hours from the time that the work is returned to revise for resubmission. So when you get those assignments returned to you, your grader, the AIs or me, will mark the things that are problematic and that need to be fixed, and then you will know exactly what you need to do to make it better. And then you turn it in once you fix it, and then from there we'll decide whether you get a higher or lower grade. So even if you're confused the first time you go about an assignment and you're anxious and it doesn't go well, maybe you're confident and it doesn't go well, we'll tell you what you need to do in order to fix it, and yeah, you'll have the opportunity to get those points back, right? That is, all of this is in the spirit. There will be one or two essays that are longer, in which I will create a grading prompt as well, so that you will get like an A or a B on those specific essays, but it won't just be completely subjective. There'll be points for like the introduction, points for responding to questions, points for writing. So again, the grading for those essays will be fair, I assure you. Right, at some point here, I do mention, oh yeah, here. So the midterm is going to be kind of late in the semester. It's going to be in the middle of week 5. And then there's a final exam. There are 2 parts. There's going to be a take-home part, and there's going to be a part that's going to be done on Canvas. I don't really know how each is going to be weighted yet. I'll let you know as soon as I figure that out, as soon as I create the exams. There's a part in the syllabus that talks about late work. It's you get 10% deduction if you turn it in after the 24-hour point in which it's due, or if you turn it in 24 hours after the due date, and then after that, you can't get any points for it. So, do your assignments on time. And then, yeah, I think that is all that I wanted to specifically talk about in this video. So I think those are the main points that I wanted to emphasize in the syllabus. Look at it at your leisure in more detail. I'm not going to tell you when. So this is more just kind of like a reference tool than anything else. Peruse the course site before the class actually begins. Look at the pieces that we're going to talk about. The listening list is already available through the media collections online. You're definitely just, class hasn't even started yet, but I mean, it's good music, so just start listening to it now. It's all really, really interesting stuff. Get familiar with it. And I don't know, I'm just excited to work with you guys in this very, very bizarre environment. I'm very much looking forward to the Wednesday meeting time when I finally get to meet a lot of you. And until then, take care of yourselves and stay clean, stay safe, and until Wednesday, I guess. Okay, see ya.